Now I would like to ask you to take the place in the audience, and I would like to ask, I will skip into Polish because it will be more understandable for some of us, and I hope we have a very good translation, so it will be understandable for all of us. I would like to ask two people to the scene. Professor Jan Rydel.
Professor Jan Rydel, I'd like to invite you onto the stage.
To see you here and to take a place here. And the second person, Professor Zdzisław Noga. Teraz już będę mówił po polsku. Jan.
And now switching back to Polish, Jan, please take your seat on the stage.
Siądź proszę, mamy wodę.
We have some water here. You will need it shortly.
Siadaj proszę. Drodzy Państwo, postaramy się...
Ladies and gentlemen, briefly, why are we sitting here? Why are we on the stage? Starting from the fact that Professor Zdzisław Nowak will tell you why we decided to invite Professor Rydel here onto the stage.
Dzień dobry Państwu.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We invited Professor Jan Rydel because we have a surprise for him, and I am not the surprise.
Tą niespodzianką jest księga, którą przygotowaliśmy.
A book that we developed for you, Professor, is the surprise. It's to commemorate the 65th anniversary, and we'd like to hand over this book to you. It was developed by friends, students, colleagues, acquaintances. And looking at your face, I can see that we managed to keep it secret, which doesn't often happen. Ladies and gentlemen, Jan Rydel, he's not only an activist of the network, not only an expert on matters that were the topic of today's debate, not only a diplomat in a broad sense of the word, but also a scholar. In the world of scholars in Poland, there is this habit and tradition, and also probably outside Poland, that anniversaries are celebrated by a book. And this is how we wanted to sum up your intensive years of work. And that, as the title says, you devoted to science and politics. Jan Rydel, ladies and gentlemen, was born not in Rydlówka in Cracow, but he's related to Bronowice, and the Polish participants of this Congress do not need any explanation what Rydlówka is. To our foreign friends, I'd like to explain that Rydlówka, a manor near Cracow, is a magical place. It's a place where
pradziadka Jana Rydla, syna profesora Uniwersytetu Jagiellońskiego,
where a wedding took place between a nobleman and between a simple peasant. And Jan Wyspiański was looking at it, one of the greatest Polish artists. It was 125 years ago, and he wrote a book which is a national drama, full of fundamental questions, also questions about the future. And this is also related to today's event. And I'm not able to explain this phenomenon as well as Professor Jan Rydel, because I heard him explain on many occasions to our foreign guests what the phenomenon of the wedding is. And let's focus briefly on the scientific career of the professor. He opted for a historical studies. He completed them under Professor Zgórniak. It was at the Jagiellonian University in 1981, and he was employed as assistant, and he wrote his MA thesis in Manchuria in he was writing about Manchuria 1904, 1905. He started with Manchuria, and then he was researching the army and history of Austria-Hungary, and his PhD was devoted to officers, generals, admirals at the service of the Habsburg monarchy in the years 1867, 1918. And the PhD, he received his PhD in 1987. And now we are getting close to a breakthrough moment in the history of Poland. He got engaged in the process, which ended with free election and the fall of communism, regaining full independence. And it didn't stop his scientific career, because Galicia and the history of the Habsburg monarchy was still in the center of his interest. Ladies and gentlemen, he then got interested in the second topic, the Second World War and the history after the war. And he wrote his paper in 2001, and he devoted it to Austrian area which was occupied, to the area that was occupied by Austria. And he became doctorus habilitus, and this coincided with the beginning of his diplomatic career, with the diplomatic career of his colleague Jan. And the title of this book is Bronowice, Cracow, Berlin, and probably our colleague Cracow is better placed to talk about Berlin. Yes, 2001. This is the time when Professor Rydel came to Berlin with his family in order to be cultural attaché of the Polish embassy in Berlin. And this is where we met. This is where we were working together. And this is where a professor was working really hard to support and develop and improve German-Polish relations. And this wasn't the first time that he dealt with it, but it was the first time that I started dealing with it as a diplomat, as a representative of Poland. And this lasted 4.5 years. And then the Rydel family came back to Cracow. And after a few years of different forms of scientific activity and support for the European network, Remembrance and Solidarity, which was established in the period 2001-2005, and then it was developing between 2005-2010. And over that time, Professor Rydel was supporting us with his advice, but he wasn't yet a formal member of the network. He became a member after the Smolensk catastrophe in 2010. Professor Rydel replaced as a coordinator Andrzej Przewoźnik, who died in the catastrophe. And since then, a vast part of his activities was related to the projects of the European Network, Remembrance and Solidarity, which you can see on the pictures. These are pictures from his different activities. It's worth mentioning his intensive activity in Polish-German societies. For several years, he was head of Polish-German societies, and he's still on the advisory boards of international institutions at places of memory, Bergen, Belsen, and Mauthausen-Gusen. And I guess this is a good point in time to hand over the promised book to the professor. Over the last 2 years, we were working in secret, as you can see, to develop this book and hand it over to Professor.
Mamy więcej egzemplarzy.
We have more copies, but this is the first copy for you. 503 pages.
Oczywiście. Zanim oddam głos panu profesorowi.
Before I give the floor to the professor, I'd like to thank several other persons who contributed to the development of this book. Anna Michalska, Małgorzata Pakier, Izabel Ryskał-Rydel, Piotr Rawiej, Ewelina Szpak, Antoni Zakrzewski, Barbara Welsh. Thank you so much. Jan, the floor is yours. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I do confirm that I was totally surprised. I never suspected anything. I understand my wife knew something about it, but I didn't. Completely unaware. So thank you very much. When I was writing my articles to similar volumes, I thought I'd never have such a book. I'd never get such a book. So you took me by surprise, and it's a very nice surprise. Indeed, we are fighting on the verge of history and politics. We try to do whatever we can. And I'm so curious of the content of the book. I have a great appetite for it. And I'm lost for words, to be honest. This is what we expected, and we were kind of counting on it. We didn't want you to prepare for your presentation. Well, it's a good point in time for you to enjoy, to look at the list of authors. And this is like an extra surprise. You can buy this book if you are interested. It's possible. We are happy to take your name. You can enter your name on the list, and we'll ship the book to you. The book came yesterday from the printing house. That's why we don't have all of the volumes with us yet. Incredible, deeply moved. Yes, I looked at the table of contents, and it's just, I don't think I deserve it. I think you did. We never forced anyone to write an entry in the book. It's published in several languages, German, Polish, English, and one even in French. So all of you can find something for themselves. So, Jan, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, you are all invited to a 2-hour break. After 2 hours, you're invited back into the room for a concert.